This is an extension of my last few videos, more specifically narrowing toward Matthew 5:32 and the phrase saving for the cause of fornication, and trying to address whether there's a biblical just cause for divorce. I pulled up a concordance, and having searched fornication, there's only four in all of the King James, and here are the four: Ezekiel 16:29, Ezekiel 16:26, 2 Chronicles 21:11, and Isaiah 23:17. I'll hold off on reading them to you, and hope that you can just tap the screen and read it real quick, or pull it up on your own screen. But I'm going to move on. So this is the Old Testament Hebrew word for fornication. As you can see, definition: commit fornication, be a harlot. The three out of the four are right here in this word, and two of them are right here. Ezekiel 16:26 is one of them, and Isaiah 23:17 is the other one that's right here. So this generally says figurative of improper intercourse with foreign nations, religious reference sometimes involved. Uniquely, the definers like to use the word intercourse as an alternate word for, it's not sexual intercourse unless it says sexual intercourse, and they're specific on the difference between the two. And this is improper intercourse, which is generally communication in the broadest sense. With religious reference sometimes involved, which means as it pertains to worshiping false gods and idols and etc., it can include that, and etc. Idolatry, basically. The other one is right here under Hiphil, 2 Chronicles 21:11, and it's also clarified right here as category under cause to commit fornication. It's under the religious and not the sexual. So religious fornication, again, is idolatry, basically, or worshiping false gods, which I paraphrase into being a god unto your own self, not aligning with letting God be God. So as I look to this study, it's in Ezekiel 16:29 that he qualifies as these are all international, mingled with religious references, and that's the four fornications in the Old Testament. This is another one of the Hebrew fornication words studies out of the Old Testament. Hosea 4:11 can be suggested much more wisely to not be sexual. So here's Blue Letter Bible, but a different definer. Here, Jasenis, Hebrew Chaldee lexicon defines Hosea 4:11 right here. And in defining it, it's defined under figuratively of the worship of idols. And I really agree with that to a point that I dare turn away from my normal study and find that somebody else is saying something different. This is the other fornication study out of Hebrew, and so there's 4 in our words, but there is a consideration to look to the defining and qualifying that says sexual. The other one, international and religious, is worshiping of idols. The Hosea 1 verse 2 is a unique verse. Well, generally, Hosea receives a message from God to go marry a whore. And because of who he was to go marry, they're considering that sexual. When really the person, Hosea, wasn't inherently sexual. So it's peculiar that it's in the sexual category. I've come back to the original fornication Zana because there's more to it than what we just looked at. This is to be a harlot or act as a harlot, and the word "as" tends to be inherently directed toward figurative instead of sexual. Not that it has to be, because you can. It has a qualifier over here of be a harlot, but then there's number 2 that's purely figurative, and it again uses the word intercourse, but it's a word variation description to communication as intercourse, not sexual, and not literal because it's figurative. And then there's again, well, that's with foreign nations and sometimes religious involved also. And this one is virtually the same. So there's a lot that isn't sexual, even though the words used sounds like it's sexual, except for Leviticus 19:29 is qualified as sexual, as is Hosea 4:10, which we just looked at, 4:11, and it's not sexual. So anyway, very, 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 very limited in any sexual relation whatsoever, because it's figurative. I would add that there's a uniqueness. I started to go through the scriptures to see if it was figurative or literal sexual, and when I came to Jeremiah 3:8, I came and bumped into a uniqueness that that brings forward the essence of what is described as God divorcing Israel, being frustrated, let's say, with their idolatry. And so I looked at the causes for which that came about, and under cause, I clicked on to cause, and the word study that defines the one and only time that is expressed as God divorced Israel, came to study the causes for that as, well, where am I here? And the causes are expressed here as, generally, I refer to this as Strong's Exhaustive Concordance supplemental paragraph, which sometimes can be substantial in its quality, even above and beyond Strong's Exhaustive Concordance. And it says here, or in the shortened form of things, Rod Oath. And of course, my name's Rod, and we've been studying word value and what your word means to divorce or not divorce, and really this is the transliterated word, but that's the shortened form of the transliterated word, which is the shortened form of the longer version of Rod Oath. Of course, oath is more toward office, but really it's also a promise, just like God promised to be their God, and they will be His people. It's an oath, it's a promise, it's a covenant, it's a spousal vow. How many ways do you want to look at hold word value, Rod?